Ladies and gentlemen, the circus called Zimbabwe's governance has reached another level. You couldn't script it if you tried. On Tuesday, the state declared war on car tints. By Wednesday, the very same state said, "Who? Us?" and called the whole thing bogus. However, a motorist in Dema was already lighter by $15 because the police decided the circus needed an anchor. That's not governance. That's slapstick with handcuffs. Okay, let's delve into this. Here's how the clown car emptied onto the highway. Tafadzwa Muguti, wielding a title long enough to sound important, stood before cameras and announced a sweeping ban on tinted windows. Immediately, everywhere, everyone, except the usual VIPs, of course, those that are above the law. It wasn't a leak or a rumor. It was rolled out in full costume, right down to a broadcast clip that ricocheted across social media and newsroom. Even mainstream outlets ran with it. Zimbabwe bans vehicle tints to curb crime, complete with courts threatening impounds if you didn't strip your film. If you think I'm joking, here's the clip.
That all provinces enforce a complete ban on private vehicles and public transporters having tinted windows on their vehicles, except for government VIP and security vehicles or those manufactured with standard shades of tints. This follows the increase in crime in transportation vehicles, and especially Mshika vehicles, by armed robbers and other criminals, and also the recent rape of a grade 7 girl in an omnibus. So we will not be allowing anymore any commuter omnibus to have tints. Tinted windows are not allowed on public vehicles, and all of those of you who have got tints where the police will not be able to see the people driving or your passengers, please remove your tinted windows immediately, or the police will do it for you, or your vehicle will be impounded.
Okay, you heard it, right? Then, because the show must go on, George Charamba, the president's spokesperson, burst through the paper backdrop and told the audience to ignore the whole thing. No legal basis, he said. Not from the president, not from the cabinet, not even from the grown-ups in the room. Just like that, the law evaporated mid-performance. State-aligned platforms rushed to agree, null and void, no basis in law, despite the fact that they had made news bulletins about the issue. Even Justice Minister Ziyambi told Parliament there is no law banning tints.
Minister of Justice. Takawa kuchitauro kunzi vane motikari dzine matindi amhosva. Saka mubvunzo wangu woti zviri pamutemo here kuti munhu akaisa tindi pamota yake yamhosva inosungisa. Maita basa.
Bato wechigaro mutemo watinawo ndewekuti kana motikari uchiisa tindi isaiswe zvekuti mutyairi anenge achiityaira atadze kuona. Izvozvo ndo zviri mutemo watinawo. Zvemumarutivi emota hatisati tagara pasi tinge tichiwirirana navamhona ava vari apa navakazembe kuti todaro here. Hurumende inofamba negwara. Kana dei zvakaitwa ndofunga maide makaona mutemo wacho uchiuya nekuno, asi wandataura ndouripo. Ndinotenda mubato wechigaro.
Zvinhu zvaireketa, waireketa zvinhu zvemumusoro mwake here? kana kuti zviro zvaakareketa kumhatso kwake otouya kuti ngezvenyika. Then tiripo apapo ngepekuti simba racho rekuti arekete zviro zvinobata nyika yeshe zviri zvekumusoro make wakariona kuri?
Mamiriro akaita hurumende yedu ndeyekuti tine anotitaurira anonzi Minister of Information nasekretari wake vanomiririra kushambadzirwa kwemashoko ehurumende, ndo basa ravo. Pedzezvo tine anoshambadzira mashoko apresident. Vaviri vavo ndo vanotaurira hurumende jekerere. Toti kuministry kwega kwega tinotaura maringe nezvekuministry kwedu. Ukaona woreva zvisiri zvekuministry kwako usiri ava vandataura unenge washaisha, unless asi kana uri inini ndakamira muno ndinobvumidzwa, kana anenge akamiririra inini ari muno. Kana ndabuda muno mukandibvunza zvekuagriculture handipinduri, asi ndikati digi muno ndopindura. Saka vamuswere, vamangwana navacharamba ndo vanomiririra. Vacharamba hurumende, vamuswere vacharamba president, vamuswere hurumende yose na PS wavo.
Mubvunzo wangu kuna minister ndewekuti matanho api achatorwa nehurumende maerenge nemadrivers atopiwa matiketi zuva ranhasi, nekuti mapurisa aswera achitopa vanhu matiketi, vachadzorerwa here mari dzavo or what? Ndo mubvunzo wangu kuwedzera iwo. Thank you.
Hakuna mupurisa unotevedzera zvemusocial media kana zvemumedia pasina mutemo. Mapurisa chaiwo kana vachikusunga vanokuudza kuti kuburikidza nemutemo wekuti wapara mhaka yakati, uyezve matikiti aunopiwa yaya anosungirwa kunge ari madeposit fine ekukoti. Saka kana pane vapiwa vane kodzero yekuenda kukoti vonoti ndakapiwa izvi, koti inonadzurudza. Asi hakuna mupurisa unosungirwa kuti anga achiti ndikangomuka zvangu ndirini sazi yangu ndotaura zvandataura pasina mutemo wapasiwa obva ati ndakutotedzera izvozvo. Mapurisa edu akarongeka, havaite izvozvo.
So, let's get it straight. The regime announced the policy on Tuesday and declared it fake on Wednesday. You don't get whiplash like that from a U-turn. That's a donut in a patrol car. But the punchline landed where it always does, in an ordinary citizen's wallet. Less than 24 hours after the government walked back, a ZRP officer in Dema fined a driver $15 for tinted windows. There is the whole state on camera saying this isn't a thing. And there is a ticket saying pay up. The distance between those two realities is exactly the distance between law and lawlessness. And that's how far those in power are from the realities on the ground. And no, it wasn't urban legend. Local outlets and community feeds posted the receipt and the story right down to the offense line, tinted or shaded windows. And for the benefit of our viewers, we are also posting it. Here it is. Now, what do you call a system where a permanent secretary can declare a nationwide ban by press conference? A presidential spokesperson can disown it on X, and a state newspaper can baptize it bogus. And then the police can still collect cash fine for it the next afternoon. That's not a state, it's a troop. And besides, tinted windows is the domain of the Ministry of Transport, What was a presidential or permanent secretary doing announcing such things? So, there is no work being done in the president's office. Nothing, zero. Despite that, the country's economy is on its knees, where you need a war cabinet to attack this issue. You have permanent secretaries with no work, getting all excited to announce a law that does not exist. Real countries change rules through statutes, statutory instruments, gazettes, court orders, things with signatures, numbers, citations, and dates. Banana republics change rules with vibes, then argue about the vibes, then monetize the confusion on the roadside. On Tuesday, the performance was Tint equals crime. On Wednesday, the performance was fake communication. In the afternoon, the performance was that'll be $15. Thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, spare a thought for anyone trying to plan a life or a business inside this tumble dryer called Zimbabwe. Investors ask a basic question: what's the rule tomorrow? In a normal jurisdiction, the answer is written down. In this one, the answer depends on which actor has the microphone today and which one wakes up grumpy tomorrow. When policy is made by podium and revoked by press officer, the entire country becomes a stage and the audience keeps paying for slapstick it never ordered. Meanwhile, the security state gets to have it both ways: disown the policy at the top to avoid backlash and enforce it selectively at the bottom to keep the fear alive. That's not miscommunication. That's a method. Let's be precise with dates, since precision is the one thing the principals refuse to offer. On 2 September 2025, Muguti announced the ban, amplified by state-friendly media and video clips. On September 3, Charamba publicly said it was unauthorized and illegal at law, and the Herald followed with pieces declaring there is no law banning tints, echoed by the Justice Minister in Parliament. And later that same day, a Dema motorist was fined $15 for the very thing everyone in government had just called fake. That's a full 3-act farce in under 36 hours. If you wanted proof that this is a banana republic, here it is in living color. Rule by announcement, rule by denial, and rule by roadside receipt. Real power isn't exercised through the constitution or the courts. It's exercised through whoever can point the loudest and collect the fastest. The state talks like a government, but moves like a cartel. Central command when it wants headlines, plausible deniability when the blowback comes, and cash extraction when the dust settles. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are tired of being governed by punchline, hit like, drop a comment with your Tint story, and subscribe so this channel can keep cutting through the fog and the film. We do receipts, not rumors. Back to the chaos. Nick Mangwana's shop pushed the initial message. George Charamba dragged it to the bin. The Herald built a legal argument around the bin, and ZRP Dema set up an informal text on the contradiction. The only constant was not law, not order, but authority, elastic, performative, and unaccountable. You can ban tints from a podium and ban them from an airplane and still punish people on rural road because in the final analysis, the script is not about safety or crime. It's about reminding you who can make you stop, who can make you pay, and who never has to say we are wrong. Call it what you like, but when policy begins as a Facebook video, morphs into a presidential rebuke, and dies as a cash fine in a police book, you are not living under the rule of law, you are living under the rule of skit. And the skit only ends when the audience stops clapping. Ladies and gentlemen, let's stop clapping for these clowns. If you want more hard-hitting, receipt-stacked commentary that refuses to be gaslit by banana peel governance, subscribe to Zimwaves TV and share this video with someone who still thinks this is normal. The circus has replaced the state until the crown demands a refund.
Nyika yedu yaparadzwa nemakoronyerezano. Nyika yedu iri kutongwa nenhubu dzezano. Vana kushikorora ngova damberega rega mafekitari yakafara kare kare. Imi Mwari Baba ndimi makati munozivavo konamo yeZimbabwe ichapera rini mambo tamirira taneta tichafara rini mambo tatarisa nguva dzese uchauya rini mugove patinoti titaure tinodzwazve kuhondo kuti tikosore tinoswera tave musheri zanu haina tsitsi nevana veZimbabwe vatana nevarwere vakatokanganikwa kare. Imi Mwari Baba ndimi makati munozivavo konamo yeZimbabwe ichapera rini mambo tamirira taneta tichafara rini mambo tatarisa nguva dzese uchauya rini mugove. Vakavava Mugabe vakatobviswa negidi pakauya Mnangagwa akatopinda zveginya naiyewo anoda kufira pachigaro. Imi Mwari Baba ndimi makati munozivako konyamo yeZimbabwe ichapera rini mambo tamirira taneta tichafara rini mambo tatarisa nguva dzese uchauya rini mugove. Nyika yaora yaparadzwa nemazano. Nyika yedu inopisa kudarika gena makoronyera ezano yationesa chimoto. Mwari burukai muite kuda kwenyu. Imi Mwari Baba ndimi makati munozivako konyamo yeZimbabwe ichapera rini mambo tamirira taneta tichafara rini mambo tatarisa nguva dzese uchauya rini mugove. Imi Mwari Baba ndimi makati munozivako konyamo yeZimbabwe ichapera rini mambo tamirira taneta tichafara rini mambo tatarisa nguva dzese uchauya rini mugove.